Well, it's time for another review, and this is a UFO book review. Some of you who are serious students of the UFO riddle will appreciate this one. This is a book that's actually, I found it under, I think I have it in my library under about 3 different names. So I'm going to show you 2 that I have handy, but I think this is at least under 3 different titles floating around out there. So be careful, or you might buy this book more than once. But this is Intercept But Don't Shoot by Renato Vesco. And the other one that I have, the other version is, or one of the other versions is Man-Made UFOs, 1944 to 1994, Renato Vesco and David Hatcher Childress. So both of these are the same book. Now this has a little bit extra information by David Hatcher Childress. This was a reprint put out by Adventures Unlimited Press. This is, I believe, one of the original copies. And this was originally published, this English translation, I think is originally in Italian. This was originally published, this one is from 1971. Now, here's why this is an especially, I think, an especially important book, is this gentleman was researching the exotic aircraft angle of the UFO riddle and basically comes to the conclusion that most of what we view as UFOs today are actually not alien aircraft, but actually, or alien spacecraft, but actually very advanced aircraft using sometimes aerodynamic, and propulsion principles that date back to before the Second World War. And he supports that with very good evidence. And one of the main things in his work is he goes and cites a lot of more obscure books about German secret aircraft programs. So that's one of the nice things about his work is check out his bibliography and go look at some of that original source material, because there were a few books that came out right after the Second World War I would say right after, like in the 50s, that discussed a lot of these exotic aircraft designs like flying wings and saucer-shaped craft and things like that, and some of the more advanced German warfare devices like wind cannons and of course like the Bell and stuff like that, which he doesn't discuss in here. But basically a lot of those originally, those books that came out, a lot of those are really hard to find now. A lot of the original source material for this, I think I have one of them that I've reviewed previously called German Secret Aircraft, that's I think from like 1954. But he traces the modern UFO riddle, as it were, to the A.V. Rowe Company out of Canada, and even speculates that he's pretty sure what part of Canada these were being manufactured. He believes that there was actually a production facility built just over the border of the United States and just over the Washington state border inside Canada by the A.V. Rowe Company. And that later on A.V. Rowe released showed a saucer, kind of a primitive saucer thing they had worked on, but called the A.V. Rowe, I'm trying to think of the name for it, is it's the classic one you see in a lot of UFO books where they say, oh shucks, we tried to build a UFO, we tried to build a flying disc, but we just couldn't pull it off. And he shows that there's very compelling evidence for some really exotic lifting bodies and propulsion techniques that all date back to around the Second World War and before, and primarily to a lot of these German engineers. So really fascinating information. And then of course, this will lead you to one of the other books I've got. I think it's called the UFO, the Great UFO Hoax, or something to that effect. And I'll see if I can find it and link at the end of this video, because I think that author, I think his name is Cannon, and I think he does an excellent job of linking a lot of the work in here with an effort to falsify some kind of alien invasion event. So, as I've stated in other videos, because I always catch flack for every time I do a video talking about UFOs and the origins of possibly some of these UFOs in exotic aircraft programs. Anytime I do that, I get some flack. Somebody will pop in the comment section and say, "Oh, you conspiracy people, it's all, you know, it's all just man-made. You can't accept that aliens are here." I don't rule that out, but I think anytime we encounter deception in this particular area, we need to eliminate all of that first before we start. All the prosaic explanations need to be exhausted before we jump to it's, you know, aliens from another star system or from inside the Earth or whatever visiting us. So we need to exhaust all those options and make sure we completely understand the true state of the art of modern aircraft programs before we jump to that, make that quantum leap to aliens are visiting us from another planet. So anyway, this is by no means the definitive work, but this is important in that in its date that this came out in 71. Again, this is the English translation, and provides a lot of really good information, a lot of good evidence supporting this idea that these advanced aircraft techniques or these advanced principles were being experimented with here in the States and possibly in the Soviet Union. And he doesn't elaborate a whole lot. It doesn't speculate a whole lot on why, you know, it's been a while since I've read this cover to cover, but you get the idea from some of these authors that write about this that a lot of the reason we haven't seen disc-shaped aircraft in mass production is twofold. I think the most common reasoning a lot of people will throw out is that they haven't really perfected it on a practical level. And a lot of the manufacture is still really expensive and still uses really exotic materials and that sort of thing. Then there's another school of thought that says these are actually very easy to produce. The problem is more of a psychological warfare nature, that they don't want to reveal this technology until it can be properly exploited. So could be a little bit of both, but this is a fascinating look into that particular angle and fairly easy to find out there. I don't think this is that hard to run down. And of course, David Hatcher Childress's version is easy to find through Adventures Unlimited Press. So this has some better pictures and illustrations in it, but if you look up some of the other stuff by Adventures Unlimited Press, they have some more updated information on that as well. So be sure to check those out as well if you're curious about that. But again, if you are a serious student of things flying saucer, then I highly recommend this. So I will stop it there. But that is Intercept But Don't Shoot: The True Story of the Flying Saucers by Renato Vesco.